In the silence before the sun breaks the spine of night, there is a hush across the earth. A widow lights a candle in her kitchen before anyone stirs. A young man in the city walks to work, shoulders hunched, unaware that heaven walks with him. In the fields, a farmer lifts his eyes to the pale morning sky and whispers a name he has not spoken in years. And far above this restless world, in the heart of eternity, a flame still burns, the flame that called Moses, that warmed Elijah, that sealed the lips of Isaiah, and now flickers in every soul that dares to hope again. This is the hour of visitation, and heaven comes not with thunder, but in the hidden quiet of ordinary life. Beloved child, you who scroll in silence, lost in 1,000 images, yet longing for one word that pierces the soul, hear me. The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. You say, but I am not strong, I am not holy, I am not ready. And I say, precisely you, precisely now. Do you think Gideon felt ready when I found him? He was threshing wheat in a winepress, hiding, not harvesting. The enemies had swallowed his courage. His tribe was the weakest. His name was barely known. And yet I sent my angel to that hidden man, not to a king, not to a prophet, to a working man in fear. And I said to him what I now say to you, the Lord is with you, valiant warrior. This is not flattery, it is prophecy. You are not being told who you have been, but who you are becoming in me. So many of my children cry, where is God in all this sorrow? But they do not understand. They ask for signs and wonders, yet ignore the whisper of my spirit in the heart of their labor. I speak through sweat, through silence, through suffering. I come not only in miracles, but in the endurance of the mother who stays, the father who prays, the youth who resists sin, the widow who hopes. Gideon asked, if you are with us, why has all this happened? You ask the same, do you not? If God is good, why the pain? Why the betrayal? Why the war in my soul that never ends? Oh, how I listen to these cries. But my answer is never absent. I do not explain suffering from a distance. I enter into it. I descend. I sit beside you in the dust. And then I speak. Go with the strength you have. Am I not sending you? This is the flame. Not a fire that destroys, but one that purifies, that kindles hidden strength. Gideon thought he had no power, but I had placed within him a strength he had not yet touched. And within you, too, there burns a spark. You think your weakness disqualifies you, but in truth, it is your qualification. For my power is made perfect in weakness. I do not seek the proud. I call the poor in spirit, not the performers of religion, but the broken who dare to say, here I am. This is why Gideon became my warrior, not because he was mighty, but because he was honest. Not because he had answers, but because he brought me his questions. And then he offered himself. And this, my child, is the turning point, the offering. When he realized it was truly I who spoke, Gideon said, wait here, Lord, let me return with my offering. And I said, I will wait. Do you hear this? I, the eternal one, wait. I wait for you, not for your riches, not for your eloquence. I wait for you. Your time, your honesty, your surrender. Too many have left the altar. Too many have stopped offering their hearts. But I remain, flame unquenched, waiting on the altar of your soul. You are the offering I seek. Your broken prayers, your hidden wounds, your desire to begin again. offer them. Return to me not with excuses, but with yourself. The moment Gideon said, "Here I am," he found me still seated, waiting. And I said, "I am with you. You will strike down Midian as if it were one man. I say the same to you. You will overcome this addiction, this fear, this sorrow as if it were one shadow fleeing the sunrise, because I am with you. You are my Gideon. You are my warrior. And though the world may not see your battles, I see them. I know what you fight in silence. I know what no one claps for, and I call it holy. So do not flee your mission. Do not dismiss your call. I do not choose the strongest. I anoint the willing, and I kindle them with my flame. Now return with your offering. Even if it's small, even if it's trembling, return and place it before me. For I remain, I wait, and the flame has not gone out. In the stillness between calling and courage, between fear and fire, the altar awaits you. And I am seated there watching the horizon of your heart. Will you come? Will you say yes? The night deepens before the dawn. In the still air, the flame flickers not to consume, but to reveal. It casts long shadows across the silent fields, and in that gentle light, truth stands uncovered. It is in this hour between fear and faith that the soul either hides or rises. And I, who search the depths of every human heart, wait for your rising. Gideon returned with his offering. Not wealth, not prestige, himself. The bread of his poverty, the labor of his hands, the trembling of a man who has begun to believe that maybe, just maybe, God has chosen him. And I received it not for its grandeur, but for its honesty. For I do not need abundance, I need surrender. So many of my children believe they must fix themselves before approaching me. They imagine I want polished saints, not wounded souls. But the altar of heaven is not built for the proud. It is for those who dare to kneel with empty hands. The offering I await is not perfect. It is real. I prefer the cracked vessel filled with tears over the golden chalice filled with nothing. When Gideon laid his gift before me, I sent fire from the rock. The flame leapt not from human effort, but from divine presence. And this, my child, is the secret I whisper to you now. When you offer yourself, I will send my flame. Your small act of faith becomes the spark of something greater. Heaven meets earth in the offering of a humble heart. But before the battle, there must be the breaking. Before Gideon could lead, he had to tear down the altar of false gods that stood in his father's house. This is where many hesitate. They want my blessing without letting go of their idols. They want victory while protecting the chains that bind them. But my love is too fierce, too jealous, too pure to leave those false altars standing. I ask you, beloved soul, what stands on the altar of your heart that is not me? Is it fear? Is it bitterness that has become a familiar companion? Is it pride disguised as control? Is it a wound you've fed like a fire in the night? The flame I bring does not merely warm, it consumes what keeps you enslaved. Just as Gideon lifted his hand to strike down what dishonored my name, so must you let my spirit strike down the altars in your soul. Tear down what deceives you. I will not share your heart with idols. Some of you fear this tearing. You think if I let this go, I will have nothing left. But hear me, when you tear down false altars, I build a new one within you, an altar of fire, of living presence, where my love will dwell and never depart. This is not loss, this is freedom. Gideon's family feared the reaction of the town. You too may fear the reaction of others when you begin to follow me without compromise. When you refuse to worship the gods of the age, comfort, applause, pleasure, power, you will feel alone. But you will not be alone. The flame goes with you. Do not be surprised when your obedience disturbs those who have grown accustomed to darkness. Light always disturbs before it transforms. It is in this collision between the holy and the habitual that I forge warriors. Gideon did not know it yet, but in tearing down one altar, he was raising another. The altar of his own heart, now claimed by me. Do not say, I am too small for this. Remember,
David in the fields, the youngest. Remember Mary of Nazareth, unknown to the world. Remember Peter, rough and trembling. I choose what is weak to confound the strong.
The world measures power by strength. I measured it by surrender. And where surrender burns, my flame grows. You, too, have altars to tear down. You know their names. They whisper to you at night, telling you that life without them would be empty. But their promise is false. Their power ends the moment my flame touches them. Do not fight alone. Let me be your fire. Let me strike down the lies. Once Gideon tore down the idol, something changed. Heaven began to gather around him. Angels stirred. A trumpet would soon sound. But first, there was a quiet night. A single obedient act. A man standing beside a broken altar with the scent of smoke rising to the sky. One man's yes became the signal that awakened a nation. Beloved, your obedience may feel small, but in heaven it resounds like a trumpet. Every quiet yes shakes the walls of darkness. Every idol that falls in your heart becomes a gate through which my grace floods into your family, your city, your generation. The flame on the altar is waiting to leap, but the altar must be clear. Will you let it burn away what binds you? The night is not the end. It is the forge. Tear down what cannot stand, and I will build what can never fall. And when the morning comes, the flame will not be alone. It will have become an army. The night had been broken, and the scent of smoke lingered where false altars once stood. Gideon stood in the silence, and for the first time, the air itself seemed to listen. One act of obedience had disturbed the darkness, and heaven began to lean closer. The flame that once trembled in hidden places now rose higher, brighter, reaching upward like a prayer that refused to be silenced. This is how God moves. Not with spectacle, but with quiet revolutions in the human heart. The world often fails to notice when a single soul bows to grace. But the kingdom does not. The tearing down of one altar shook the invisible realms, and the trumpet of heaven was lifted to the lips of angels. When Gideon obeyed, my spirit clothed him. He who once hid in fear now stood as a herald. The weak became a vessel. The forgotten became a leader. His trembling hands would soon hold a trumpet that would awaken Israel. You see, beloved, I do not simply forgive, I transform. I do not merely visit, I dwell. And when I dwell, my flame spreads. The trumpet sounded in the night. One sound, one man, but it summoned thousands. Those who had hidden began to emerge from their shadows. Those who thought the battle was lost felt their hearts burn again. The flame that began in one obedient heart leapt into others, like fire passing through dry wheat. The sound of the call is never wasted when it is born in surrender. This is how I work in every generation. I do not wait for perfect heroes. I ignite hidden embers. I choose the trembling ones. I breathe on their yes, and from their yes comes the sound that awakens others. Your own surrender can be such a trumpet, my child. Do not underestimate the quiet yes that you whisper through tears. Heaven hears it as a roar, yet Gideon still wrestled with doubt. The trumpet was sounded, the men were gathering, but in the dark of the night, his heart still asked, Lord, is it truly you who has called me? Is this flame real or just the wind of my own longing? And so he laid out the fleece. He dared to ask for a sign, not in arrogance, but in trembling trust. And I, who know the fragility of the human heart, did not turn away. I answered, I soaked the fleece with dew while the ground was dry. And then, to still the fear within him, I reversed the sign, dry fleece, wet ground. Do you see my patience? Do you see my tenderness toward those who long to believe but still fear falling? I do not despise your questions. I meet them with mercy. I speak through signs not to indulge your doubt, but to steady your steps as you walk toward the fire of your mission. Many of you, like Gideon, have felt the trumpet call within. You sense the battle forming on the horizon of your life, and yet you hesitate. You pray, Lord, give me a sign. You wait for something undeniable, something unmistakable. And while you wait, you fear the silence. But know this, my silence is not absence. My signs are not proof of my power, they are tokens of my love. I will meet you where your courage falters. I will steady your trembling heart. I do not call you because you are fearless. I call you because I love you. And my love, once kindled, turns fear into fire. When the men of Israel gathered, they did not come because Gideon was mighty. They came because the Lord was with him. This is the mystery of divine calling. One weak vessel becomes a mirror of my strength, and others see the flame and are drawn to it. The world listens to many loud voices, but it follows the quiet ones who burn. You may feel small, but the spirit that clothes you is not. When I place my flame upon you, it is not to make you famous, it is to make you fruitful. It is not to glorify you, but to awaken others through you. Gideon did not call the people by his own strength. The trumpet he lifted was my voice through his obedience. Some of you think, I have nothing to offer. But the trumpet is not about the strength of the lips that blow. It is about the breath of the one who gives the wind. I breathe through the weak. I sound my call. Through those who thought they had no sound left. I make a prophet out of a stutter, a shepherd out of a boy, a warrior out of the forgotten. Gideon's obedience set in motion a movement that he could not have imagined. The flame no longer burned only in him, it spread through the camp, through the hearts of a fearful nation awakening to hope. Do not despise your beginning. A spark in my hands can set a generation aflame. And yet, as the army gathered, the night grew colder. The task ahead was greater than Gideon could bear alone. But this is the way of my kingdom. When you say yes, the weight of the mission does not crush you. It drives you deeper into my strength. The flame does not burn out. It burns brighter. Beloved soul, the trumpet is near your lips even now. The call you carry is not yours alone. Others are waiting to hear it. Others are waiting to be set aflame. Do not fear the trembling in your hands. It is the sign that grace, not pride, holds the instrument. The army is assembling in the silence. The flame is spreading in unseen places. Your yes has not gone unnoticed in heaven. And as the wind begins to rise, I will breathe through you. The trumpet is about to sound again. The night before the battle, a restless wind moved through the camp. Thousands of men stood ready, armed with what little they possessed: stones, swords, hope, and fear. The flame that had begun in Gideon's heart now burned among them like scattered embers waiting to be fanned into a fire. And yet, in the midst of this growing strength, I spoke words that shattered human logic. You have too many. Gideon looked at the gathering army with the eyes of a man who once hid from the enemy. Every soldier represented safety, every weapon reassurance. But I am the Lord, and my flame does not depend on numbers. I do not share my glory with fear. If they believed victory was theirs by their own hand, the fire would dim, and pride would rise like smoke that chokes the soul. So I spoke, tell the fearful to go home. And many turned back. Their steps faded into the distance like dry leaves scattered by the wind. The army thinned, but the flame remained. Gideon's heart trembled, not in doubt, but in awe. He was learning what every servant learns. I do not win battles through might, but through surrender. Yet still I said, there are too many. I led them to the water, where I watched how they drank. Some knelt with caution, some raised their heads with alertness. It was not their technique I sought, but their heart. I separated them not because they were great warriors, but because they were the ones through whom my flame would burn brightly. From thousands I kept 300. The world would have laughed, but heaven did not laugh. It leaned closer. I strip away what you think you need so you can see me as enough. I remove the excess so that the fire can be pure. Human strength is often a shield behind which faith hides. But when the shield is gone, the heart must either flee or burn. And I, the Lord of hosts, kindled the burning. Beloved, you too have seen me reduce the numbers in your life. I have allowed doors to close, people to leave, resources to dry up, not to abandon you, but to teach you that the flame is not dependent on the crowd. When the multitude leaves, the pure heart remains. When supports fall away, the soul learns to lean on me alone. This is not punishment, this is consecration. Gideon did not yet see it, but the victory I had prepared was not a battle of swords, it was a revelation of my power. If thousands had fought, the story would have been about men. But with 300, the story would be about the flame. Do not despise your 300 moments, those seasons when everything seems small, when your strength feels like a whisper, when your army has dwindled. It is in these moments that I speak most clearly. I choose the remnant to reveal the glory of the eternal. I whispered into Gideon's soul, with these 300 I will deliver Israel. With this small flame I will set fire to the darkness. He looked at the men, ordinary men, farmers, shepherds, laborers. They were not mighty, they were not feared, but they were chosen. Some of you think you need more before you can follow me. More strength, more friends, more certainty. But I say to you now, what you have is enough if I am with you. The flame does not grow because of what surrounds it. It grows because I breathe upon it. And so I breathe. Gideon gathered the 300, and though their number was small, the air around them carried the weight of eternity. Heaven's armies were already on the march, unseen but near. Then came the most mysterious part of my plan. I did not give Gideon a mighty sword or a grand strategy. I gave him torches, jars, and trumpets, instruments of weakness in the eyes of men, yet weapons of glory in my hands. For the battle that wins souls is never fought with the blade, it is fought with the flame. In the stillness before the dawn, I leaned toward Gideon's heart and whispered, "Do not be afraid. Arise. I have given the enemy into your hand. Beloved, hear this as your own call. Do not measure my promises by the size of your resources. Do not judge my plans by what you can count. I am not building monuments of pride. I am kindling flames of faith. You may feel outnumbered. You may feel stripped down to nothing but your torch and your trembling hands. But this is where I delight to work. For when the world sees your weakness, I see a vessel ready to burn with my glory. The army of 300 stands at the edge of night, holding jars, torches, and trumpets. No earthly plan could explain what is about to happen. And in that silence, my whisper becomes a roar.
The flame is ready to move. The valley lay in darkness. The camp of Midian slept beneath a moonless sky, unaware that heaven itself was drawing near.
The sound of crickets filled the air, and the watchfires burned low. No storm roared, no army thundered on the hills. Only 300 men stood scattered on the heights, each holding a torch hidden within a clay jar. Their hands trembled, not from fear alone, but from the weight of a mystery too vast to comprehend. Gideon looked down at his torch, at the fragile jar concealing its flame. It was a strange weapon for war, a light kept hidden, waiting for a single moment. But this is how I work. I hide glory in weakness. I place power inside fragile vessels, so that when the moment comes, the world will know the victory belongs not to man, but to me. The night grew stiller. A silence thickened like a breath held by all of creation. Gideon's heart burned with the words I had whispered to him. Arise, for I have given them into your hand. He turned to his 300, not with the face of a general, but with the eyes of a man who had learned to trust the fire more than the sword. And in one breath, the silence broke. The jars shattered. The sound echoed like thunder rolling through the valley. Torches blazed into the night, no longer hidden. The flame leapt high, wild and pure, cutting through the darkness like the first light of creation. Trumpets sounded 300 blasts crying out into the blackness. And as their voices rose, so did mine. I, the Lord of hosts, enter the camp not with steel, but with fear. The enemy woke to fire surrounding them. Confusion struck like lightning. In the shadows, they turned their swords against each other. What 300 could not accomplish with might, the flame accomplished with presence. Beloved soul, this is the mystery of divine victory. When the flame is revealed, darkness destroys itself. How many of you walk through your nights believing you are too few, too small, too broken, but I have hidden my flame in your clay jar? At the right moment, not yours, but mine. I will shatter what conceals it, and my light will pour out with power the world cannot explain. The Midianite army fled into the night, not because Gideon was strong, but because my glory made the darkness tremble. And the people who once hid in caves rose in courage. The weak became strong. The scattered became one. Hope, like a fire spreading through dry fields, consumed their despair. This is what happens when my children stop hiding their flame. For too long, many of you have carried the fire in silence, fearful of breaking the jar. You have thought, I'm not ready. I'm not enough. I'm too fragile to shine. But what you call fragility, I call strategy. I chose Gideon's jar because it was meant to break. I chose your weakness because it is the perfect place for my glory to erupt. Do not be afraid of the shattering. Do not fear the sound of what once concealed your light falling away. The moment your walls crack, my radiance floods the night. Every hidden torch is a promise. Every cracked jar is a doorway. Every trembling hand is an altar for fire. When Gideon's 300 revealed their flame, the enemy saw not men, but something far greater, a host of light, an army clothed in the presence of the living God. They were outnumbered but not outflamed. And this is your call. Stop counting your numbers and start trusting your fire. Do not measure what you carry by earthly standards. One flame carried in obedience burns brighter than 1,000 weapons forged in fear. When you stand in my will, your smallest act becomes a trumpet blast in the valley of shadows. I have hidden my fire in you for this hour. For some, the shattering has already begun. The relationships you trusted, the securities you leaned on, the plans you built, you thought these were losses. In truth, they were jars breaking, releasing the light I placed in you. It is not the end, it is the beginning of victory. Gideon's army shouted with one voice, "For the Lord and for Gideon." But know this, the victory was mine alone. They were vessels, I was the flame. And I have chosen to burn in you the same way. Beloved, stop fearing the sound of breaking. Stop mourning the jar. When you allow the flame to rise, the enemy's power dissolves. Confusion overtakes darkness. Strongholds fall without a single blow from your hand. The trumpet has sounded. The valley is alight. You stand not alone, but surrounded by the unseen armies of heaven. When your light shines, you do not fight for victory, you fight from victory, for it is already mine. The flame dances in the night, the jar lies shattered at your feet. The enemy trembles, and heaven whispers into your trembling heart, "This is why I called you. This is why I chose you. This is why I place my fire in your hands." The first light of dawn began to rise slowly, like a whisper over the battlefield. The valley that had been clothed in terror just hours before now lay silent beneath a sky painted in soft gold. The torches still flickered in the hands of 300 men who had once doubted they were chosen. The shattered jars lay at their feet, scattered like the remains of fear that no longer had a voice. The flame, once hidden, now burned openly in the light of morning. Gideon lifted his eyes and saw what only faith could have imagined. The enemy gone, their power dissolved, not by the strength of men, but by the fire of the Lord. All that remained was the scent of smoke and the echo of a trumpet that had awakened a nation. Victory had come not through numbers, not through strategy, but through obedience. This is the hour after the battle, the sacred silence when my children see that I alone am their deliverer. You, beloved soul, have walked through long nights of hidden fire. You have carried the torch in secret, waded through the silence, watched the army of fear surround your heart. But now, like Gideon's 300, you stand in a valley no longer ruled by shadows. This is what happens when the flame is trusted, when surrender becomes your weapon and faith becomes your shield. Look closely at the men in that valley. They are not heroes carved in stone. They are ordinary souls who dare to believe. Farmers, shepherds, laborers, sons of a weary land, yet because they stood, because they let the jar break and the flame rise, their small obedience became the doorway for an entire nation's freedom. Never doubt what one flame can do when heaven breathes upon it. The dawn of victory is never loud. It does not come with crowds or parades, but with the quiet knowing that God has fought for you. The same Lord who met Gideon at the threshing floor has met you in your weakness. The same Lord who called him valiant warrior has whispered the same into your hidden fears. And now, the same Lord who sent fire from the rock lets the light of morning fall upon your face. This victory is not yours to keep, it is yours to carry. Gideon did not return to hiding. He rose as a man marked by the fire. His courage had ceased to be borrowed. It had become his breath. The flame that once flickered in the night became a beacon to all who had forgotten hope. And so it must be with you. The battle was never about the enemy alone. It was about awakening the warrior I formed in you. You have been called not only to witness victory, but to walk in it. To rebuild what fear tried to tear down. To lead others to the altar you once feared to approach. The same flame that defeated the night now lights the path ahead. And understand this mystery. When I place my fire in a soul, it is not for a moment. It is eternal. The torch may tremble in the wind, but it will not die because I am the flame. My spirit burns without end. Even when you feel weak again, even when the valley grows quiet, my presence will not depart. Many of my children see the dawn and think the story ends there. But dawn is the beginning of a new calling. Gideon's victory was not the end of his mission, it was the birth of a leader forged in the fire. In the same way, the moment I deliver you is the moment I send you. I do not raise warriors to stand still. I raise them to rebuild, to bless, to protect, to lead others to the light they found. So I say to you now, do not return to the shadows. Let the flame you carry shine on every path you walk. Speak hope where despair has settled. Lift up those who still hide in fear. Be the trumpet that awakens hearts still sleeping under the weight of the night. Gideon's 300 did not become famous. They became faithful. And through their faithfulness, the land knew peace. What the world calls small, I call eternal. What the world forgets, heaven remembers. And even now, I remember your yes, your tears, your hidden prayers, your quiet courage. You, child of light, are my warrior. Not because of your power, but because you allowed mine to burn within you. You are a torch bearer in an age that has grown accustomed to darkness. Do not hide again. Do not cover the flame. Let it rise. The valley is silent now. The morning light grows stronger. And heaven whispers what it has whispered since the beginning. I am with you. I have always been with you, and my fire will not be extinguished. Stand, lift your eyes, walk in the dawn you helped bring forth. For the same God who met you in weakness now walks beside you in victory. The flame is yours to carry, not just for you, but for the world that still waits in the night.